This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good night, Nick Hughes. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm actually here in the United States. I'm in Boise, Idaho right now.
Wow, that's pretty cool. What's the temperature like there now?
It's in the 40s, 30s Fahrenheit degrees in the daytime. That's getting down into the 20s at night, so it's cold.
All right. Well, do tell us, Nick. Do tell us which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time in history.
Well, I'm an entrepreneur, and my company is called Founders Live, and we can talk about that in a second. But I am now currently on a year-long, 12-month world tour to visit and live in 12 or more cities over the course of the year. And these cities are actually Founders Live cities that we have a presence in, and we have a community, and we have leaders that are building our platform and our community. And so I'm on a tour, man, and I'm on the road now, and it's quite fun. But if you want to talk about a talent, I believe that would be my entrepreneurial leadership and the ability to network with all these people across the world. And it's been really fun.
So who did you learn the skill of being crazy from?
I think that's born. I think that us entrepreneurs are born with it, for better or for worse.
How has it been so far in your journey?
It's been great. Yeah, it's been great. So just to give a little more background, I created Founders Live, which is a global platform and community for entrepreneurs and creatives around the world. And we have, tens of thousands of people that are now around the concept and the brand, and, on Founders Live. So on the global platform, it's basically a social network and a community that people are on every day. And there's a lot of great information that is shared, and there's education that we have on there. But also we have events that take place in a growing number of cities. And these events are celebrations of entrepreneurship. They're basically, like a networking event, but also a pitch competition that highlights the emerging talent and startups coming out of those cities. And these events are roughly 2 to 3 hours long. They highlight, we pre-select 5 early stage companies, and each founder that gets on stage only has 99 seconds to pitch. So it's a value proposition pitch about what they're working on, what problem they solved, and why we should care. And after, there's 4 minutes of Q&A directly after that pitch, and we cycle through the 5 presenters in that fashion, and then the crowd votes on which one they thought was the winner of the night. And we are now, I started it in Seattle, Washington. That's where I was living. And we are now in 30 cities globally, spreading very quickly. We will probably end the year at 75 or 100 cities that have a Founders Live event that really is a gathering of that local community, hundreds of people. It's fun. It's a celebration. And as we start live streaming these events that happen in these cities, we'll live stream them to the global audience as Founders Live grows, which then really impacts and helps those startups to get discovered and have exposure on a global scale. They could end up increasing their end users or investors or partners or acquisition opportunities. So that's going amazingly, and we're doing really well. And so then I decided to just take the year of 2019 and tour. I picked specific cities, and obviously, we're in 30 now, so it's a problem. There's too many cities and not enough time, but I chose at least, it'll probably be 12 to 15 cities. And I'm now living in one each month and working with our teams, meeting the people, traveling, seeing the world, and spreading entrepreneurship as far and wide as possible.
That's super cool. Love it. Love the concept. When are you coming to the Caribbean?
That's a good question. So it's not, the Caribbean is not on my list for 2019, but I'm already starting to see an opportunity maybe for what happens in 2020. I'm not sure. And I think by the end of this calendar year, I'll either say, you know what, that was great, but that was a long trip, and I'm going to go back to Seattle and get more settled. Or I'm going to say, hey, let's continue this. And I honestly think, like, as Founders Live grows, which, by the way, if we get Founders Live up and running in the Caribbean, in your area of the world, I will definitely make it down there at some point in my life to, meet the people and be at the event and see what entrepreneurship feels like and looks like in that area of the world, because it's different. It's different than the US. It's different than Seattle. It's different than New York. And I want to see it. And we want to see entrepreneurs blossom from anywhere in the world. One of my thesis around this entire company and concept is that I believe talent is evenly distributed around the world. It doesn't matter if you live in Seattle or if you live in New York or you live in Buenos Aires, Argentina, or Nairobi, Kenya. There are talent and creative people everywhere, but the problem is opportunities aren't evenly distributed. So clearly certain cities and areas of the world receive higher amounts of attention, quite a bit more capital, quite a bit more focus on education or opportunities. And it's really frustrating when I look around and the majority of the world are not receiving an adequate amount of that. And so that was really the underpinnings, and the reason why I started Founders Live is I believe, and we're seeing already, as we connect the world, the global entrepreneurial ecosystem, and we open up cities that can now hold a Founders Live event, but also what that means is more and more people will be joining Founders Live that connects them with a global community and a global platform to bring them world-class technologies, world-class services and products, and also exposure. We believe it's going to change. It's going to change the world. It's going to open up so much more opportunities for the expansion and recognition from entrepreneurs and early stage companies coming out of some cities in your area, like Jamaica or anywhere in the Caribbean, that clearly there are people and talent, but might not be getting the recognition and exposure that they should.
Sounds great.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my friend, where's the best place for people to connect with you, Nick?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. Nick Hughes. If you just type in Nick Hughes, my picture right now is in a blue shirt, so you'll find me. You'll be able to find me on on Founders Live, because it is a social platform, and so I've got anyone can join. It's free, and you have a profile, and you can find me there. You can find me on Facebook. I'm not as much active on Facebook, and really kind of trying to move away from that a little bit. Twitter, I'm very active on Twitter, and you can find me at jnickhughes at Twitter, and then I'm on Instagram as well under jnickhughes.
What's the J for?
J is for James. That is my first name, and just decided to go with Nick at an early age.
Yeah, sounds cool. James Nick Hughes. Well, Nick, let's switch gears for a moment, my friend. Let me invite you now into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Nick, what is your earliest childhood memory?
I was thinking about this, and it's a little interesting. It's fuzzy, but I think I can make some connections here. I have a very, very, very early memory of being on a plane. I think I was like 4 or 5 years old, and my family, we had taken kind of our first big trip. We went to Disneyland, and I remember running up and down the aisleway of these big planes and just being so fascinated with flight and flying and travel. And anytime I get on a plane, I'm not really scared. I'm excited. I love watching out the window, taking off, and just being so fascinated with flight. And it's, I didn't become a pilot, but, just having that early memory as a young kid, so excited to like see the plane take off and be in the air. That is one of my earliest memories.
All right. So how old were you in that first memory when you first experienced that?
Yeah, I think I was like, I gotta say 4,
All right.
maybe 4.5. I think that's how old I was. Yeah.
How do you see it connecting to who you are today?
I see it connecting because I enjoy adventure. I clearly I'm now I'm literally on a world tour. So I'm on a travel on a trip, flying, and so I think just that feeling. I think a lot of people still get it, but you get on a plane and that feeling in your stomach when it's taking off, literally like it's on the runway and pulling up. I attribute that feeling to there's like this adrenaline rush that I also get when I step on stage and talk in front of a crowd. I'm most at home actually in front of a crowd. And I think that little rush of adrenaline that I felt when I was like 4 years old, I'm now applying it to being an entrepreneur and a creative and building really exciting, cool things. And that I'm positively using it in the right direction. Some other people use that feeling in a different, maybe a negative way, but this is a great way to drive that adrenaline rush that I got when I was 4 or 5 years old on a plane. I now get that when I walk on stage and I'm, performing or being in front of a crowd, giving talks. Like, love it.
That's intriguing. Well, I do love the concept of you maximizing the experience. Seems as though that's something you do. You were doing it on the plane. Some will just sit. Some would run their virtual business or their online business and not visit every country or every state that their business is located in. But here we go. You're the guy that's maximizing the experience. And it's really intriguing to see you do that even with this particular experience of your business being there. Again, maximizing it. So that's
you got cool. It. Yeah. And honestly, like just to finish that thought, I was sitting in Seattle and I'm building a global entrepreneurial community and platform. And who am I to think that my version of entrepreneurship, that as I'm sitting in Seattle, Washington, United States, is the correct or only way. And the moment I started thinking about that, I said, no, I got to go and I got to be with the people and I got to see what entrepreneurship looks like in other cities of the U.S., other countries, and on other continents around the world. And that's now what I've committed to do. And it is a crazy, amazing commitment, but I cannot wait to see how my company and myself evolve as I go and talk to people that are entrepreneurs in various parts of the world. Very excited.
Yeah. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
What year?
When you were 12 years old.
Oh man, my favorite song. So 12 years old. So I was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest. And so right about that time, I would say Pearl Jam was starting to come out. So let's say Alive. All right. From Pearl Jam. And I grew up right where the grunge era talk about another type of, startup. The grunge era, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, they all came out of Seattle in that area. And I would say Alive from Pearl Jam was my favorite song at 12 years old.
All right. Well, Nick, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Yes.
Nick, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
No.
Are you married?
No.
Do you have children?
Nope.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
What about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? More than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Gotta be more than 8.
If you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents J. Nick Hughes, what would you say that is?
Open the door.
Love it. And can I add something?
Yeah. Yes.
It came so naturally that I almost said it before I even asked. Yeah, open the door and I will traverse the aisles up and down.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Well, Nick, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Oh, just say if you want to follow on my tour virtually with me, just find me on Founders Live or on one of the social platforms that we talked about before. Would love to talk with you, so please reach out and say hi.
Love it. Nick Hughes, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.